Today's learning target is I can evaluate simple algebraic expressions. There are a couple of terms that I'd like to go over with you here first. The first one is variable. And a variable is any symbol, and usually in math it's a letter, but it can be any symbol, and it represents any amount or any number. So in this case, this n means some number. Another term that I want to go over is algebraic expression. Okay, and this is an example of an algebraic expression. In an algebraic expression we have a variable, and we have a number, and we have some operation that we're going to do. In this case it's adding. It could be subtracting, dividing, multiplying, any of those. When you have that, it's an algebraic expression. And this is called algebra. So when we have math that includes algebraic expressions, that's algebra. Today's assignment is going to ask you to translate phrases into algebraic expressions. So we'll take a sentence like this and turn it into an expression. Anytime I do this, I look for key words. So Maria had $2, and there's one of my key words. And means adding. So she had $2 and she made $6 an hour babysitting. So to know how much she made babysitting, I'd have to take $6 and times it by how many hours she had. So I'm going to use a variable. So we have $6, and I would times that by the number of hours. Now, to write that, another way to write 6 times h is just 6h. That means 6 times h. So I put that in here, and I have 2 plus 6 times h. Alright, today we're going to be asked to evaluate, in this case, evaluate this problem, and then we're given some criteria. We know that w is going to equal 5 and v is going to equal 3. Now algebra is sometimes like a puzzle where you have to fit certain pieces in. So in this case I'm going to rewrite my problem. So I have 8, and I'm going to times that by w. And I see w equals 5, so I'll put that in here. I can write it like this. I could put 8 times 5 minus 2 times v, which is 3. Remember, if I don't put a sign between numbers, that means I times them. Okay, and now order of operations says I multiply what's on the left first. That gives me 40, and minus 6, which gives me 34. Notice how I wrote out my problem and then I solved it. Now let's take a look at this one. It says evaluate each expression if a equals 4 and b equals 3. So again, just kind of like a puzzle piece. So these are two separate problems. Let's do this one first. I see that a, the variable a, equals 4 and b equals 3. And I'm just going to do like this to show that I'm multiplying those, because remember, no sign means I multiply. Now remember, this is the fraction sign. You've learned that, but it's also the division sign. So I'm going to divide that by 2. So now I know, remember my order of operation, goats eat mushy apples. Okay, I'm going to do my grouping signs first. Okay, in this case there is a grouping sign, but it's not a problem there. I just did that to show that it's multiplying. There's no exponents, so I'm not going to do that. So now I go to my multiplying and division, and I go left to right here. Okay, well in this case I'm going left to right, but it's 4 times 3, and then I'm going to divide it by 2. So left to right means I do this first. So that means I have 12 at the top. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, now I'm dividing that by 2. And when I do 12 divided by 2, 2 goes into 12 6 times, and there's no remainder. So 6 would be my answer. In this next one here, I see 2a squared plus 5. I want to find out, I want to evaluate that, or I want to solve it. So first things first, I'm going to put my puzzle pieces in. So a was 4, so I rewrote the problem and I plugged in the numbers. So now I go with my order of operation. Remember, this isn't a grouping. I just did this to separate the 2 and the 4 so that it wasn't 24. But I do have exponents, which will be the first thing I solve. 4 times 4 is 16. So I'm going to rewrite this problem. 2 times 16 plus 5. And I'll put a grouping around this because I know I'm going to do that before I add. Now 16 times 2 is 32 plus 5, and that gives me 37.